here, there. That will give us a lot more deeper insights than today's class. So I would like to start by asking a question just to refresh everybody's memory. What were the 6 questions by the sages? So does anybody want to take a shot at that? What are the 6 questions? Anybody wants to try?
Prabhu, shall I try, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, please go ahead. Go ahead, Prabhu.
I'll try a few questions, Prabhu. I think one was, what is the ultimate good?
Yes.
Yeah, because sages were thinking like Kali Yuga is going to start.
Correct.
Then essence of all scriptures.
Excellent. Very good, Prabhu.
Then purpose of Lord's appearance or Krishna's appearance.
Yes.
Then the other one is activities, I think, Prabhu. Activities of.
Yeah. So what acts did the Lord perform in relationship to creating the material world? So these are the Purusha avatars. So
Yes,
very good, Prabhu. So thank you for sharing that and inspiring us also, because I think we not only need to read, but we also should remember what we are reading. And Prabhu, do you remember what were the answers?
Prabhu, I don't remember, Prabhu. I'll make notes whenever so that's why I'm repeating. That's all. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Making notes is also one good way to remember, Prabhu, because when you're writing, your full attention is on the writing. When you're actually putting pen to paper, you're not thinking about anything else. So it's a good way to learn. It's a very good habit. So the first question, of course, was, what is the ultimate good for the people in general? And I'll go ahead with the answer just to save some time. Was to develop the love of God through bhakti. This was in 1.2.6 and 7 verse. And the second one was, what is the essence of all scriptures? Again, that also was bhakti, which is devotional service. That also was there. And then the purpose of Krishna's appearance. Why does Krishna appear? And this was to reclaim people in the mode of goodness. That was in verse number 34. And then in 1.2.30, from 30 to 33, the Purusharvataras were also explained. So in this chapter, we'll be covering one question, which was on the 18th verse of the first chapter, which was on the Leela Avataras. What are the activities of the incarnations of the Lord? And next one will be the last question was, where did religion take shelter after Krishna's disappearance? So these 2 questions will be covered in detail in this chapter, but in the first 5 verses, we'll be covering the last part of the Purushavataras. We'll get into the details. So just as I said as a recap, right, in the flow in terms of how it is leading into this chapter, we see that, Lord assumes the roles of incarnations to perform pastimes, and these are the Leela Avataras. And as I said, is to reclaim the people in the mode of goodness. And Krishna, he manifests into this world by expanding himself into the 3 Purushavataras. So who are the 3 Purushavataras? So it starts with Mahavishnu, who then expands into Garbhodakshaya Vishnu within every universe, and then who gets into everybody's as a super soul in our hearts as the Shirodakshaya Vishnu. So we'll move ahead. So as I said, the first Purusha is Karunadakshaya Vishnu. And next level is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who is the source of all incarnations in the universe. Shall we read this first verse, everybody? And you can read along with me the Sanskrit, and then I'll request one devotee to read the translation that is given below. Sutta Uvacha Jagrae Paurusham Rupam Bhagavan Mahad Adibhihi Sambhutam Shodasha Kalam Adau Loka Sisrikshaya. Does anybody want to read the translation? Prabhuji's Mataji's?
Yes, Prabhu, I'll read.
Okay, Prabhu, go ahead.
Sutta said, in the beginning of creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universe, in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation, and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was the purpose of creating the material universes.
Yes, Prabhu. And as you see, the Lord is so many millions of universes in the picture are, they are coming out from his pores. And this is more elaborately explained in the purport. And I thought that, we should read this purport. It's a bit lengthy, but we will read it. Praveen Prabhu, do you want to read this first two paragraphs, Prabhu? Then we'll just go around and we'll complete this purport.
Prabhuji, let other people read it. I read all of the one lecture. Any others can read.
Okay.
I'll try to read.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Yeah. The Bhagavad Gita states that the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, maintains these material universes by extending his plenary expansions. So this Purusha form is the confirmation of same principle. The original personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, or the Lord Krishna, who is the famous as the son of King Vasudeva, or King Nanda, is full with all opulences, all potencies, all frames, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. A part of his opulence is manifested as impersonal Brahman, and as part of his opulence is manifested as Paramatma. This Purusha feature of the same personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the original Paramatma manifestation of the Lord. There are three Purusha features in the material creation, and in this form, who is known as Karnodikashai Vishnu, is the first of the three. The other are known as Garbhodikashai Vishnu and Kshirodashai Vishnu, which we shall know one after another. The innumerable universes are generated from the skin holes of the Karnodikashai Vishnu. And in each one of the universes, the Lord enters into Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Can I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Finish this paragraph also, Prabhu.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also mentioned that the material world is created at certain intervals and then again destroyed. This creation and destruction is done by the Supreme, Supreme will, because of the conditioned souls are the Nityabanta living entities.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other devotee wants to please continue on this?
Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, Padma Mataji, please continue.
The Nityabadha are the eternally conditioned souls have the sense of individuality or ahankara, which dictates them sense enjoyment, which they are unable to have constitutionally. The Lord is the only enjoyer, and all others are enjoyed. The living beings are predominated enjoyers, but the eternally conditioned souls, forgetful of this constitutional position, have strong aspirations to enjoy. The chance to enjoy matter is given to the conditioned souls in the material world, and side by side, they are given the chance to understand their real constitutional position. Those fortunate living entities who catch the truth and surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva after many, many births in the material world, join the eternally liberated souls and thus are allowed to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. After this, such fortunate living entities need not come again with the occasional material creation, but those who cannot catch the constitutional truth are again merged into the Mahat Tattva at the time of the annihilation of the material creation. When the creation is again set up, this Mahat Tattva is again let loose. This Mahat Tattva contains all the ingredients of the material manifestations, including the conditioned souls. Primarily, this Mahat Tattva is divided into 16 parts, namely the 5 gross material elements and the 11 working instruments or senses. It is like the cloud in the clear sky. In the spiritual sky, the effulgence of Brahman is spread all around, and the whole system is dazzling in spiritual light. The Mahatattva is assembled in some corner of the vast, unlimited spiritual sky, and the part which is thus covered by the Mahatattva is called the material sky. This part of the spiritual sky, called the Mahatattva, is only an insignificant portion of the whole spiritual sky, and within this Mahatattva, there are innumerable universes. All these universes are collectively produced by the Karnodakshayi Vishnu, called also the Mahavishnu, who simply throws his glance to impregnate the material sky. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So as we see, we are all eternally conditioned souls, and we are in a kind of a quarantine in this world because we fought with Krishna and we wanted to enjoy. And Krishna, being ever merciful, he expanded himself as Karunadakshayi Vishnu, as Namodakshayi Vishnu, and Shirodakshayi Vishnu to allow us to that enjoy. But also he knows very well that we will eventually get frustrated and we will look back to him. And that is why he is waiting. And at the end of, we'll see that, a time will come wherein we don't still make that progress. So there is a destruction and annihilation happens, and we all go back into that Mahatattva again. And then we come back again. And that is how this repeated cycle of birth and death keeps happening. And as you see, the spiritual sky is huge. We cannot even comprehend how big it is. We know our universe. We call it, our galaxy, we say it's the Milky Way. And beyond this galaxy, there are millions of other galaxies. This is one Brahman. It is one universe which is governed by Lord Brahma. Like this, there are innumerable millions of universes that are there. And all these universes, they make up only 25% of the total. 75% of that spiritual sky is something else. So we don't even know, just imagine what is the fraction we know of. We don't even know anything maybe fully about the earth. So that's how vast this entire, creation of the Lord is. Next verse, I'll read the verse and somebody can read the translation, please. Yasyambasi shayanasya yoga nidram vitanvatah nabhi hridambujat asid brahma vishwasrijam patihi. Hare Krishna. Any Mataji?
Krishna Prabhu, can I read?
Yes, Prabhuji, please read.
1.5, role of Purusha Avatars. The purport, Srila Prabhupada's translation. Hare Krishna. A part of Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all energies in the universe, becomes manifest.
So you see there that Karunadakshayi Vishnu is lying on the causal ocean, and from his pores, innumerable universes are coming out. And in each of these universes, he expands himself as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. So the first Purusha is Karunadakshayi Vishnu, and from his pores, the pores of his skin, innumerable universes have sprung up. And in each and every of these universes, this Purusha of Karunadakshayi Vishnu is entering as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. And when he is there, from his sweat, half of that universe gets covered by water, the sweat that is coming out from Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. And he lies on this half of the universe which is full of the water, and then from his navel comes the lotus stem, and then blooms the lotus flower on which it springs, wherein we have Brahma is there. So again, this is the sequence in which the creation is happening. We move to the next verse. Yasya vayava samsthanai kalpito loka vistarah tadvai bhagavato rupam vishuddham sattvam urjitam.
It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha. but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So in his purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the conception of the Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa, conception of the Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa of the Supreme Absolute Truth is especially meant for the neophyte who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the Lord. So here itself, Prabhupada is sharing that the Virat Rupa form that, we see in Bhagavad Gita also, we see that, Krishna reveals his Virat Rupa form. That is imaginary. So it is real, but it is not permanent. That is what it's meant by when it says imaginary, because it is not a permanent form of the Lord. So, and that is created, it's meant for the neophyte who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the personality of Godhead. Later on, he also goes on to say the conception of the Virat Rupa, especially for the impersonalist, is thus non-different from the eternal form of the Lord. So that is why we also see that many people generally they confuse or they take the Virat Rupa form of the Lord to be the same as the eternal form of the Lord. From here onwards, Prabhu will read directly the translation, Prabhu. Anyone wants to read? Prabhuji's or Mataji's? Anybody wants to read the translation of text 4?
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhu.
I will do that. Text 4. The devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purusha, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, with our present senses, the senses that we have, we cannot perceive anything of the transcendental Lord. And that's why, the translation said with their perfect eyes. So our present senses need to be rectified. And this can only be possible through devotional service. And that is when the Lord begins to reveal himself. In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu also, you have this verse wherein Atha Shri Krishna Namadi, there it says, he says that our blunt material senses cannot perceive the Lord. And it is only through devotional service, through chanting, through tasting the remnants of the Lord's food, do we get a taste. And then gradually God begins to reveal himself to us. So we have to take the information. This is what Prabhupada says. We have to take the information of the transcendental form of the Lord from persons who have actually seen him with perfect eyes, smeared with devotional service. And this is where the entire parampara system also comes into play, that we need to hear and listen and learn from a person in the parampara system, a person who is a bona fide spiritual master for us. They will be able to guide us. And that's what he says, with perfect eyes, smeared with devotional service. And he also calls out, Prabhupada also calls out some qualities that are needed to realize this transcendental subject matter. He says, only with patience and perseverance can we realize the transcendental subject matter regarding the absolute truth and its different forms. So we all are doing our daily chanting, and when we are doing our rounds, we require a lot of patience, but not only the patience, but also the perseverance to pull through those rounds. But at least I can say for myself, the moment I'm done with my chanting, I'm switching off and I'm thinking of other things, whether it be it work or other topics that are there. But to get to that transcendental level, to that stage, we need to get to a very high level wherein constantly, without pause, without any interruption, we have to be thinking about the Lord. And this will be covered again in another verse also. It's covered in terms of what are the three qualities that will be needed for us to realize the Lord. We'll move to text 5, and we'll also cover the purport because this is a short purport, but it's a nice purport that we can read through. So we'll cover the text and the purport. So anybody who wants to please read first the translation and then we'll go to the purport.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source of indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities and like demigods, men and others are created. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody wants to read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna, may I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please go ahead.
The Purusha, after creating innumerable universes in the Mahatattva, entered in each of them as the second Purusha, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. When he saw that within the universe there were only darkness and space without a resting place, he filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. The water is called Garbhodaka. Then from his navel, the stem of the lotus flower sprouted, and on the flower petals, the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universal plan took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. Brahma was generated from Rajoguna of Prakriti, or the mode of passion in nature, and Vishnu became the Lord of the mode of goodness. Vishnu, being transcendental to all the modes, is always aloof from the materialistic affection. This has been already explained. From Brahma, there is Rudra, Shiva, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are incarnations of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. From Brahma, the other demigods like Daksha, Marichi, Manu, and many others have become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe.
पोर्शन नहीं करना है तेरे को
Please mute, Prabhuji.
The Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is glorified. The Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas in the hymns of Garbha Stuti, which begin in the description of the Lord as having thousands of heads, etc. The Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the Lord of the universe, and although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. This also has already been explained. The Vishnu, who is the plenary portion of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, is the super soul of the universal life, and he is known as the maintainer of the universe, or Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So the three features of the original Purusha are thus understood, and all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu.
Thank you, Mataji. You can
Hare.
continue reading and you can finish this also.
In different millennia, there are different incarnations and they are innumerable. Although some of them are very prominent, such as Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Rama, Narsimha, Vamana, and many others. These incarnations are called Leela incarnations. Then there are qualitative incarnations such as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva or Rudra, who take charge of the different modes of the material nature. Lord Vishnu is not different from the personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is the marginal position between the personality of Godhead and the living entities or jivas. Brahma is always a jiva tattva, the highest pious living entity or the greatest devotee of the Lord is empowered with the potency of the Lord for creation. And he is called Brahma. His power is like the power of the sun reflected in various stones and jewels. When there is no such living being to take charge of the post of Brahma, the Lord himself becomes a Brahma and takes charge of the post. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living being. He is the plenary portion of the Lord. But because Lord Shiva is in direct touch with material nature, he is not exactly in the same transcendental position as Lord Vishnu. The difference is like that between milk and curd. Curd is nothing but milk, and yet it cannot be used in place of milk.
Thank you, Mataji. We will pause here. So it's very interesting. And as you see, you start with Karunadakshay Vishnu as who's creating all the multiple millions of innumerable universes. And in each of these universes on the Brahmands, we have Garbhodakshay Vishnu who expands himself there. And from his navel comes Brahma, who is the creator. So the analogy is something like, you have the builder and the person who's executing it, right? So at the end of the day, Brahma is the executor. So he will create the building, but that building still belongs to the builder. Similarly, the entire Brahmand that has been created, it's been created by Brahma. The proprietor for that entire Brahmand is Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And everything that emanates and is created in this Brahmand cannot be without the blessings of this Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And so he is the super soul of the universe. Just like the Kshirodakshay Vishnu is the super soul living within our hearts. The Garbhodakshay Vishnu is the super soul of the universe. And the Karodakshay Vishnu is the super soul for all the universes. Also, what as he is mentioned out here, Prabhupada in his purport, he talks about, when there is no person who's fit to be a Brahma. So Brahma has 78% of the qualities of the Supreme Lord, right? And he is Jiva Tattva. So all of us should aspire to become Brahma, get to that stage. We are maybe not even at 1%. I can speak for myself, but that should be the goal. Now, sometimes we don't have such a qualified person. So the Brahma position falls vacant, and that's where Lord Vishnu himself takes charge. So Garbhodakshay Vishnu himself takes charge as Brahma, and he can himself take charge of the demigod positions also. So in the Chakshusha Manu, there's another incarnation that we'll speak of. There he comes as Yajna to take charge of all the administrative affairs. So it's like, in any office, you have your direct reports. Suddenly, they quit and go away. Then ad interim, you are the leader of that particular team or that group. So similarly, also over here in this setup, wherever there's a vacancy, the Lord takes over as the ad interim in charge. So a bit of some more of the purport is there. Anybody else wants to read? This is very interesting.
Yes,
That's why I wanted to cover this.
I'll read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, please continue.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Please
The
read.
next incarnations are the Manus, with 1 day of duration of the life of Brahma, which is calculated by our solar year as 43 lakh into 1000 years. There are 14 Manus. Therefore, there are 420 Manus in 1 month of Brahma and 5040 Manus in 1 year of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years of age, and therefore there are 5040 into 100, that is equal to 5,04,000 Manus in the duration of Brahma's life. There are innumerable universes with one Brahma in each of them, and all of them are created and annihilated during the breathing time of the Purusha. Therefore, one can simply imagine how many millions of Manus there are during one breath of Purusha. The Manus who are prominent within this universe are as follows: Yajsa as Swayambhuva Manu, Vibhu as Swarochisa Manu, Satyasena as Uttama Manu, Hari as Tamasa Manu, Vaikuntha as Raivata Manu, Ajita as Chakshusha Manu, Vamana as Vaivaswata Manu. The present age is under Vaivaswata Manu. Sarvabhauma as Savarni Manu, Rashabha as Dakshayani Manu, Vivaksena as Brahma Savarni Manu, Dharma Setu as Dharma Savarni Manu, Sudhama as Ruddha Savarni Manu, Yogeshwara as Deva Savarni Manu, and Brahadbhanu as Indra Savarni Manu. These are the names of one set of 14 Manus covering 43 crore solar years as described above. Then there are Yugavataras of the incarnations of the millennia. The Yugas are known as Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The incarnation of each Yuga are of different color. The color are white, red, black, and yellow. In the Dwapara Yuga, Lord Krishna in black color appeared, and in the Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya in yellow color appeared. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Just hold on, Prabhu. You can also continue with the next. I just want to add out here is that these Prabhujis and Matajis, now this gives you a sense of how insignificant we are in the larger schemes of things. So the age of the life of Brahma is 4.3 billion years. It's billion solar years. That's what it says here. And this is within one day you're talking about. So 1 day of Brahma's life is 4.3 billion years, and Brahma lives for 100 years. So 100 times 360. So this will go into trillions, hundreds of trillions of years is the life of Brahma. Okay. And like this, there are innumerable universes, innumerable Brahmas are there. And how much time is it taking for all of this to happen? So if you look at it, this is the one, it is all of them are created and annihilated during the breathing time of the Purusha, which is Karanadakshaya Vishnu. So as the Lord is breathing out, the universes are coming out of his pores. And when the Lord breathes in, the universes all go back into the pores. So from a concept of relativity, for the Lord, it's just one breath. But for us, in terms of solar years, it goes into trillions, hundreds of trillions of years.
Yes, Prabhu.
Read this next, Prabhu. Yeah,
yes.
Continue, Prabhu.
So all the incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. There is no scope for an impostor to become an incarnation. For an incarnation must be mentioned in the Shastras. An incarnation does not declare himself to be an incarnation of the Lord, but great sages agree by the symptoms mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The features of the incarnation and the particular types of mission which he has to execute are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Apart from the direct incarnation, there are innumerable empowered incarnations. They are also mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Such incarnations are directly as well as indirectly empowered. When they are directly empowered, they are called incarnations. But when they are indirectly empowered, they are called vibhutis. Directly empowered incarnations are the Kumaras, Narada, Pruthu, Shesha, Ananta, etc. As far as vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. And for all these different types of incarnations, the fountainhead is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
so here again, Prabhupada is so forceful, and he is mentioning all incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. So one of the things that you will see in our Sampradaya is that we will be following only from what is mentioned in the scriptures. So we are not going out and speculating, nor are we claiming also or following counterfeits. I'm using the word counterfeits out here because you have so many people out here claiming falsely to be incarnations or avatars by themselves. And this is all on the basis of speculative knowledge. This is not mental speculation. This is nothing concrete. And what is coming out here is coming directly from the lineage. It's coming. So in a nutshell, Prabhu, Prabhujis and Matajis, so what is the intention behind these various incarnations? Number one is to execute certain specific functions. So if you look at it, all the incarnations that come or take, the Lord accepts an incarnation is to come and do a specific function. And when we go and cover the next, from verse 6 to 27, you'll see 22 incarnations are covered. Each of these incarnations come for a specific purpose and complete that purpose and go back. They also come to diminish the burden of the earth, and the mission of all the incarnations is the same, which is to lead people to God consciousness and to obey Dharma, the principles of religion. And as Srila Prabhupada rightly puts it, is also to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere. So now we'll go to the first incarnation that we are talking of, and we'll speed up a little bit now from verse 6 to verse 27. We will speed up a little bit. So I will read here, I will read the translation, and also I will share some important messages from the purports also. Text number 6. First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were the 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, who, being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth. So the Kumaras, appeared in the Kaumara creation of the material world. This is as mentioned from Prabhupada's purport. And they taught us the process of Brahman realization. They underwent severe types of disciplinary actions as bachelors. And these Kumaras are the empowered incarnations that we discussed earlier. Text 7. The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation of a boar, the second incarnation. And for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from nether regions of the universe. This is the Varaha Avtara. Now again here, I would like to link it back to the purpose the Lord incarnates, right? So there is always a purpose for which he incarnates. And the indication is that for each and every incarnation of the personality of Godhead, the particular function is executed as mentioned, right? And so why was the incarnation of boar? Why did it come? Anybody wants to take a guess or answer this question? Why did the incarnation of the boar come?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Prabhu, earth was inside the Garbhodaka ocean, so to lift up the earth.
Yes, Mataji. Anybody else? But why did he have to come as a boar?
Hare
In
Krishna,
Samudra
Prabhuji, I
Manthana.
think, I think Hiranyakashipu, he shook the earth and it went inside the ocean. I might be wrong.
But now what I'm trying to get to, Mataji, is why did he come as a boar?
Because Garbhodaka ocean is dirty, and from the dirt,
Yes. So, and Prabhupada says the incarnation of the boar was to take the earth out of Pluto's region of filthy matter. Picking up something from a filthy place is done by a boar, and the all-powerful personality of Godhead displayed this wonder to the Asuras who had hidden the earth in such a filthy place. So the Asuras had hidden earth in a filthy place, thinking that nobody will be able to find it or take it out. But the Lord, he can do anything he wants. And then he came as his incarnation to show his power. And he came as the boar also. So there is nothing impossible for the personality of Godhead. And although he played the part of a boar by the devotees, he is worshipped, staying always in transcendence. We will continue. Next 8. In the millennium of the Rishis, the personality of Godhead accepted the third empowered incarnation in the form of Devarishi Narada, who is the great sage among the demigods. He collected expositions of the Vedas which deal with devotional service and which inspire non-fruitive action. Now, throughout the Bhagavatam, we'll find places, at least I have not read full, I've come to the 3rd canto, but you see Narada in many places. Narada is there and he's sharing his wisdom with many, many more wise people also. So what does he do? What does Narada do? He propagates devotional service all over the universe. So wherever he wants to go and propagate, he goes and starts doing this propagation. And Prabhupada in his purport, he uses a very nice analogy, and I thought I'll share this analogy of the physician and the patient. The physician directs the patient to take treated milk in the form of curd for his sufferings from indigestion due to his taking another milk preparation. So another milk preparation has caused him indigestion, but the cure is curd, which is coming from milk itself. So the cause of the disease and the remedy of the disease may be the same, but it must be treated by an expert physician like Narada. So here, Narada is the expert physician who travels across universes, and he is propagating devotional service, which is the medicine for us to go back to Godhead, so that we realize our constitutional position as eternal servitors of Lord and make this turn of direction to look away from all our material pangs and all that are catching hold of us and look in the direction of the Lord and start this journey to go back home, back to God. Text 9. In the fourth incarnation, the Lord became Nara and Narayana, the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma. Thus, he undertook severe and exemplary penances to control the senses. So, as King Rishabha advised his sons, tapasya or voluntary acceptance of penance for realization of the transcendence, and that tapasya is the only duty of human beings. Now, and this is how the Lord, comes and shows us how it needs to be done. So Lord is supremely kindful, very, very kind to also the forgetful soul. So even though we have forgotten about it, we have forgotten about our constitutional position, the Lord is ever, ever merciful, and he is willing to come and instruct us so that we can learn also. And this incarnation of Narayana is worshipped still at Badrinarayana in the Himalayan mountains. So we have, it's still there. The fifth incarnation, named Lord Kapila, is foremost among perfected beings. He gave an exposition of the creative elements of metaphysics to Asuri Brahmana, for in course of time, this knowledge had been lost. And so, can anyone share what is Lord Kapila known for or remembered for? What did he expound?
Sankhya
Sankhya Yoga.
Yeah, Sankhya philosophy. Very good. Thank you, Mataji. So the sum total of the creative elements is 24 in all. This is what Prabhupada is saying in his purport. And each and every one of them is explicitly explained in the system of Sankhya philosophy. And this was done for the first time by Lord Kapila, who said herein to be the fifth in the line of incarnation. So he was the fifth in the line of incarnations. And in the course of time, this knowledge was lost, and he came to remind again about this philosophy. So we do see that Lord, again, just keep in mind what I had mentioned earlier. He comes for a specific function. And we have seen also later on also he comes in different incarnations, and he imparts knowledge, or he does things with a particular function. So it's not that he will appear only once. He will come innumerable times in innumerable universes. Text 11, the sixth incarnation of the Purusha was the son of the sage Atri. He was born from the womb of Anasuya, who prayed for an incarnation. So Anasuya had prayed for an incarnation. He spoke on the subject matter of transcendence to Alarka, Prahlada, and others, Yadu, Haihaya, etc. So Dattatreya was the son of Rishi Atri and Anasuya. Any Prabhujis and Matajis, who do you know what Rishi Atri prayed for and to whom?
He wanted Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva's sons.
Exactly, Mataji, correct. So Rishi Atri prayed before the Lords Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva as follows. He said, "My Lords, if you are pleased with me, and if you desire me to ask from you some sort of blessing, then I pray that you combine together to become my son." And the ever merciful Lord is so kind to his pure devotees. He accepted, this was accepted by the Lords, and as Dattatreya, the Lord expounded the philosophy of the spirit soul, and especially instructed Alarka, Prahlad, Yadu, and Hayaya. Move to text 12. The seventh incarnation was Yajna. So I did mention this earlier also. The seventh incarnation was Yajna, the son of Prajapati, Ruchi, and his wife Akuti. He controlled the period during the change of the Swayambhuva Manu and was assisted by demigods such as his son Yama. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the administrative posts occupied by the demigods for maintaining the regulations of the world are offered to highly elevated, pious living beings. So again, pious living beings. We had seen earlier also, Brahma is Jiva Tattva. So as living beings, who are highly elevated and pious, we can get elevated to that place, that position also. But when there is a scarcity of such pious living beings, the Lord incarnates himself as Brahma, Prajapati, and Indra, etc., and takes up the charge. So in this particular situation, there was no suitable living being who could occupy the post of Indra. And the Lord himself at that time became Indra. So Lord Yajna ruled the administration of the universal affairs. X13, the 8th incarnation was King Rishabha, son of King Nabhi and his wife Merudevi. In this incarnation, the Lord showed the path of perfection which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are honored by all orders of life. So here what we see is Maharaja Rishabha, and we have covered earlier also we saw that, right? Rishabha, the son of King Nabhi and Meru Devi, was an incarnation of the Lord, and he instructed his sons, we spoke about that also, to follow the path of perfection by tapasya, which sanctifies one's existence and enables one to attain a stage of spiritual happiness, which is eternal and ever increasing. Prabhupada in his purport also says, the human life is meant for attaining eternal and unlimited happiness by spiritual realization. This spiritual realization is obtained by tapasya. That is what the Naranarayana they did. Or undergoing voluntary the path of penance and abstinence from material pleasure. We'll move to text number 14, the next incarnation, which is the 9th incarnation. For Brahmanas, in the 9th incarnation, the Lord prayed for by sages, accepted the body of a king, Prithu, who cultivated the land to yield various produce. And for that reason, the earth was beautiful and attractive. Now, again, he comes for a particular function. Before the advent of King Prithu, what was happening? There was great havoc everywhere. There was maladministration that was happening everywhere. And due to the vicious life of the previous king, the father of Maharaja Prithu. Anyone knows who was the father of Maharaja Prithu?
Venap.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mataji. So, and Maharaja Prithu came with that sole purpose, which is to yield the way they cultivate the land to yield various produce, and for that reason the earth was beautiful and attractive. Next 15, where there was complete inundation after the period of the Chakshusha Manu, and the whole world was deep within water. The Lord accepted the form of a fish and protected Vaivaswata Manu, keeping him on a boat. So this is the Matsya Avatara, and here again the Lord is again coming with a very particular purpose. Yes, come. Next, number 16. The 11th incarnation of the Lord took the form of a tortoise. So this is the Kurma Avatara, whose shell served as a pivot for the Mandara Chala hill, which was being used as a churning rod by the theists and atheists of the universe. So I was listening to one of the lectures by Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and there he says, so in this Kurma Avatara, it's not just a small tortoise. This was hundreds of thousands of kilometers in kind of, if you're looking at it in terms of diameter, that was the width that you're talking of, on which this huge Mandarachala hill was placed and churned. So we cannot even imagine the size of this avatara. It was so massive. The earth, if you want to go around the earth, maybe might go into tens of thousands, that's of kilometers. That's about it. And then you'll be able to wrap. If you had a rope, you can wrap it around the earth. But this was 800,000 kilometers or even more. It was expanding so huge. Next, number 17. In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari. And in the 13th, he allured the atheists by the charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink. This was the Mohini Murti avatar. Next, 18. In the 14th incarnation of the Lord appeared as Narsimha and bifurcated the strong body of atheist Hiranyakashipu with his nails, just as a carpenter pierces cane. Text 19, in the 15th incarnation, the Lord assumed the form of a dwarf Brahmana, Vamanadev, and visited the arena of sacrifice arranged by Maharaja Bali. Although at heart, he was willing to regain the kingdom of the 3 planetary systems, he simply asked for a donation of 3 steps of land. In the purport, Prabhupada says the Almighty God can bestow upon anyone the kingdom of the universe from a very small beginning. And similarly, he can also take away the kingdom of the universe on the plea of begging a small piece of land. Again, Prabhujis and Matajis, we need to remind ourselves that we are not the proprietors and we are not the enjoyers of anything that is here. Everything that we see, everything that you are seeing around yourself, you can touch, you can feel, nothing belongs to you. Everything belongs to the Lord. And if he wishes and if he deems fit, he will take it away within the blink of an eye. So we need to train ourselves to not think of ourselves as proprietors, as owners. That mentality is something that we have to slowly and gradually we'll have to move. It's very difficult because we have been conditioned over millions of births. We have got so used to this entire conditioning in a material body and exposed to all these material desires. But we have to slowly start reminding ourselves that all of this actually belongs to someone else. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in text 20, we see the 16th incarnation of the Godhead. The Lord, as Brihupati, Parshurama, annihilated the administrative class, Kshatriyas, 21 times, being angry with them because of their rebellion against the Brahmanas, the intelligent class. So again, he comes for a specific purpose. And in this case, there was some disobedience on the part of Kshatriyas. So Prabhupada says, whenever there is disobedience on the part of the Kshatriyas or the administrative class against the orders of the learned and intelligent Brahmanas, the administrators are removed by force from the posts and arrangement is made for better administration. So just like our elections, but our elections don't work well, evidently. Text number 21. Thereafter, in the 17th incarnation of the Godhead, Sri Vyasadeva appeared in the womb of Satyavati through Parashara Muni. And he divided the one Veda into several branches and sub-branches, seeing that the people in general were less intelligent. Again, he comes, he sees that the people are becoming more and more less intelligent, and he comes here with a purpose. We are not able to comprehend this one Veda. It's so vast, so huge. And Vyasadeva comes, and then he, being Vyasadeva, he is able to divide this original Veda into four Vedas, Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva. And then again, these were explained in different branches, like the Puranas and the Mahabharata. So again, here what we see is Lord is coming for a specific function. The purpose is usually the same, and the purpose is to take people back home to Godhead and establishing the principles of religion. And in text 22, we see in the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. So does Rama have to exhibit his powers? He could have, snap his fingers, and he could have, extinguished Ravana. But as Prabhupada says, personality of God and Sri Rama assumed the form of human being and appeared on the earth for the purpose of doing some pleasing work for the demigods or the administrative personalities to maintain the order of the universe. So again, he comes for a purpose. Because if he wants, he can do anything. So even were to cross the ocean and go to Lanka, there he he could have actually walked on the water and gone across also, or he could have just teleported himself. But he exhibited superhuman activities which no human beings, including the materially advanced Ravana, could perform. So Ravana was dreaming of building a staircase to heaven, which he could not do. Lord Ramachandra prepared a royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones that floated on the water. So again, here you see, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is floating all these millions of universes in the air or without air. He's able to float them there, right? And over here, what we see is that he's now doing this to stones. And still modern scientists, as Prabhupada says, it's very nice in his purport, he says, the modern scientists have done research in the area of weightlessness. But it is not possible to bring in weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. So they are not still successful. But because weightlessness is the creation of the Lord, by which he can make the gigantic planets fly and float in the air, he made the stones even within this earth to be weightless and prepared a stone bridge on the sea without any supporting pillar. That is the display of the power of God. Hare Krishna. And in text 23, he talks about the 19th and 20th incarnations. The Lord advented himself as Lord Balrama and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni, the Yadu dynasty. And by doing so, he removed the burden of the world. So in this verse, he specifically refers to Krishna and Balram as Bhagavan. So Prabhupada says the specific mention of the word Bhagavan is used in this text. And it indicates that Balrama and Krishna are the original forms of the Lord. So the reference of Bhagavan doesn't come for everybody if you read this scripture. And it only comes over here for Krishna and now for Balram. So like in the Bhagavad Gita also we see it's Bhagavan Vacha. It's not Krishna Vacha. So, but what we need to keep in mind is that Balram and Krishna are the original forms of the Lord, and this will be further explained later. So that Krishna and Balram are not just incarnations. They're coming here. It says that Lord Krishna is not an incarnation of the Purusha, as we learned from the beginning of this chapter. He is directly the original personality of Godhead, and Balram is the first plenary manifestation of the Lord. From Baladeva, the first phalanx of plenary expansions, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna expands, and Lord Sri Krishna is Vasudeva, and Baladeva is Sankarshana. Text 24. Then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Ashjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theist. So, if you think about it now, when was the Bhagavatam written, right? So, of course, written long time ago, but Vyasadeva delivered it at the time when around which is around the end of at the time around 5,000 years ago. This was much before Lord Buddha appeared on the earth, right? So Prabhupada says that in the Bhagavatam, there are many prophecies that are there, right? And it's not like, anyone is writing a book and making a prophecy. So we have in the common material world, we see a lot of people, trying to make prophecies, fortune tellers, future tellers, and all that, right? But that is not based on any, it is based on their own thinking that it is coming out. So Prabhupada says, technically Lord Buddha, Srimad Bhagavatam was composed just prior to the beginning of the age of Kali, about 5,000 years ago. And Lord Buddha appeared about 2,600 years ago. Therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Buddha is foretold. Such is the authority of this clear scripture. There are many such prophecies, and they are being fulfilled one after another. And one might think that the Buddhist philosophy is different, but if you look at it, and Prabhupada explains it nicely in his purport, he says, technically Lord Buddha's philosophy is called atheistic because there is no acceptance. Just a minute. Because there is no acceptance of the Supreme Lord, and because that the system of philosophy denied the authority of the Vedas. But that is an act of camouflage by the Lord. So he says that's an act of camouflage by the Lord. Lord Buddha is an incarnation of Godhead. As such, he is the original propounder of Vedic knowledge. So, and he says, Lord Buddha preached the preliminary principles of the Vedas in a manner suitable for the time. And so also did Shankaracharya, to establish the authority of the Vedas. They had a common objective. Therefore, both Lord Buddha and Acharya Shankara paved the path of theism and Vaishnava Acharya. Specifically, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu led the people on the path towards the realization of going back to Godhead. So Lilananda Prabhu, in one of his lectures, I think one of the first lectures I heard, he had used this nice analogy about how there are different detours that were taken by each of these people to bring back people into the right track, which finally culminated in the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, and who brought us into the right track to go back to Godhead. And text 25, thereafter at the conjunction of two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as Kalki, incarnation, and become the son of Vishnu Yasha. At this time, almost all the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers. So this is another, foretelling of the advent of Lord Kalki in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Kali Yuga lasts for 432,000 years, and out of which already 5,000 years are past. And at the end of this Kali Yuga, we will see that is a time where the incarnation of Kalki will take place, as is told in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And here again, the name of his father, Vishnu Yasha, a learned Brahmana, and the village Sambhala are also mentioned. So now we come to the next section, which is 6 to 27. We come into that. So you have the 22 incarnations are dealt with over here. But what we need to keep in mind is that 22 incarnations are not everything. So we'll read this verse and the translation. The text number 26. I will read the verse and I'll request someone to read the translation. Avatara hya asankheya hare sattva nidher dvijaha yatha vida sina kulya sarasahasyu sahasrashaha. Any Prabhuji or Mataji can please read this translation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Let me read the translation and purport also, Prabhu.
Just read the translation, Prabhu. It's
Sure,
there
Prabhu.
on the screen. You can read text number 26. You can read the translation.
Yes. For Brahmanas, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing from the inexhaustible sources of water.
Thank you, Prabhu. So I think this is, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing from inexhaustible sources of water. So here is very clearly saying that there are unlimited incarnations, like many rivulets of water that are flowing from inexhaustible sources. So if you imagine in the world, it's quite definite, all these sources of water. They seem inexhaustible, but they are definite. But when it comes to the incarnation of the Lord, it's coming from an inexhaustible source of water. Yes, Prabhuji, you can next this any Prabhuji or Mataji, can you please read the next text, next translation?
Let me read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Text 27. All the rishis, manus, demigods, and descendants of Manu, who are especially powerful, are plenary portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. This also includes the Prajapatis.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. So these are the vibhutis, Prabhujis and Mataji. So every, as we said, from the Garbhodakshai, Vishnu, everything, everyone is coming. So including all the rishis, the manus, the demigods, everybody comes. So, and now we'll come, Prabhujis and Matajis, to what is the most important verse of this chapter. And this verse is called the Paribhasha Sutra of Srimad Bhagavatam. As I was listening to a lecture by Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, and I made my notes also from there, and he calls it the Paribhasha of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the emperor verse, he calls it. It's the most important verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let us recite this together, the verse, and then we'll also read the purport. It's a fairly long purport. And then Prabhujis and Matajis can also read the purport, and then I will share my notes also from on this purport also that I have made from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's lecture. So we can recite this. You can recite it without unmuting also. Please do recite this, and please also try to memorize this verse, Matajis and Prabhujis. Ete chamsha kala pumsa
Krishna Swayam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vilayanti
Vyakulam Lokam.
Anyone wants to read the translation, Prabhujis, Matajis?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the thieves. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll first read the purport and then we'll kind of have a discussion on this. Let's read the purport. Any Prabhuji or Mataji, please read this paragraph, please.
Like Prabhuji, can I read it?
Yes, Praveen Prabhu, please go ahead.
Text 28, purport. In this particular stanza, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is distinguished from other incarnations. He is counted amongst the avatars, incarnations, because out of his causeless mercy, the Lord descends from his transcendental abode. Avatara means one who descends. All the incarnations of the Lord, including the Lord himself, descend to the different planets of the material world, as also in different species of life to fulfill particular missions. Sometimes he comes himself, and sometimes his different plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions or his differentiated portions, directly or indirectly empowered by him, descend to this material world to execute certain specific functions. Originally, the Lord is full of all opulences, all prowess, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. When they are partly manifested through the plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions, it should be noted that certain manifestations of his different powers are required for those particular functions. When in the room small electric bulbs are displayed, it does not mean that the electric powerhouse is limited by the small bulbs. The same powerhouse can supply power to operate large-scale industrial dynamos with greater volts. Similarly, the incarnations of the Lord display limited powers because so much power is needed at that particular time. Very good.
Please continue. Any Prabhuji Mataji, please continue. It's a long purport, so I've split it into separate slides. Somebody else wants to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, please read.
For example, Lord Parshurama and Lord Narasimha displayed unusual opulence by killing the disobedient Kshatriyas 21 times and killing the greatly powerful atheist Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful that even the demigods in other planets would tremble simply by the unfavorable raising of his eyebrow. The demigods in the higher level of material existence many times excel the most well-to-do human beings in duration of life, beauty, wealth, paraphernalia, and all other respects. Still, they were afraid of Hiranyakashipu. Thus, we can simply imagine how powerful Hiranyakashipu was in this material world. But even Hiranyakashipu was cut into small pieces by the nails of Lord Nrsimha. This means that anyone materially powerful cannot stand the strength of the Lord's nails. Similarly, Jamadagnya displayed the Lord's power to kill all the disobedient kings powerfully situated in their respective states. The Lord's empowered incarnation Narada and plenary incarnation Varaha, as well as indirectly empowered Lord Buddha, created faith in the mass of people. The incarnations of Rama and Dhanvantari displayed his fame, and Balarama, Mohini, and Vamana exhibited his beauty. Dattatreya, Matsya, Kumara, and Kapila exhibited his transcendental knowledge. Nara and Narayana Rishi exhibited his renunciation. So all the different indirectly or directly empowered incarnations of the Lord manifested different features. But Lord Krishna, the primeval Lord, exhibited the complete features of Godhead, and thus it is confirmed that he is the source of all other incarnations. And the most extraordinary feature exhibited by Lord Sri Krishna was his internal energetic manifestation of his pastimes with the cowherd girls. His pastimes with the gopis are all displays of the transcendental existence, bliss, and knowledge, although these are manifested apparently as sex love. The specific attraction of his pastimes with the gopis should never be misunderstood. The Bhagavatam relates these transcendental pastimes in the 10th canto, and in order to reach the position to understand the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, the Bhagavatam promotes the student gradually in 9 other cantos. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Please continue. Any other Mataji Prabhuji? Please continue. Please go ahead.
According to Srila Jiva Goswami's statement, in accordance with authoritative sources, Lord Krishna is the source of all other incarnations. It is not that Lord Krishna has any source of incarnation. All the symptoms of the supreme truth are in full are present in the person of Lord Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord emphatically declares that there is no truth greater than or equal to himself. In this stanza, the word Swayam is particularly mentioned to confirm that Lord Krishna has no other source than himself. Although in other places the incarnations are described as Bhagavan because their specific function, now nowhere are they declared to be the supreme personality. In this stanza, the word Swayam signifies the supremacy as the Samman Bonam. The Samman Bonam Krishna is without a second. He himself has expanded himself in various parts, portions and particles as Swayam Rupa, Swayam Prakasha, Tadaikasma, Prabhava, Vaibhava, Vilasa, Avatara,
Avesha.
Incarnations are. Sorry.
Continue, Mataji. Avesha and Jivas, all
Jivas all provided with innumerable energies just suitable to the respective persons and personalities. Learned scholars in transcendental subjects have carefully analyzed the Saman Burnam, Krishna, to have 64 principal attributes. All the expansions or categories of the Lord possess only some of these attributes. But Sri Krishna is a possessor of the attributes cent percent, and his personal expansions such as Swayam Prakasha and Tadaikatma up to the categories of the avatars who are all avatara or avesha, nor in between them possess almost 84% of the attributes.
Thank you, Mataji. So what we are also seeing here is Krishna possesses 100% of those 64 attributes, and the other avatars, including Vishnu Tattva possesses 93%, and Lord Shiva, who's neither an avatara nor an avesha, nor in between them, possesses almost 84% of the attributes. Brahma, who's the highest of all the Jiva Tattvas, possesses 78% of the attributes. Okay. Last paragraph, somebody can read this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes.
But the jivas or the individual living beings in different statuses of life possess up to the limit of 78% of the attributes. In the conditioned state of material existence, the living being possesses these attributes in very minute quantity, varying in terms of pious life of the living being. The most perfect of living beings is Brahma, the supreme administrator of one universe. He possesses 78% of the attributes in full. All other demigods have the same attributes in less quantity, whereas human beings possess the attributes in very minute quantity. The standard of perfection of a human being is to develop the attributes up to 78% in full. The living being can never possess attributes like Shiva, Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. A living being can become godly by developing 78% transcendental attributes in fullness, but he can never become a god like Shiva, Vishnu, or Krishna. He can become a Brahma in due course. The godly living beings who are all residents of the planets in spiritual sky are eternal associates of God in different spiritual planets called Haridhama and Maheshadhama. The abode of Lord Krishna above all spiritual planets is called Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavana, and the perfected living being, by developing 78% of the attributes in fullness, can enter the planet of Krishna Loka after leaving the present material body.
That should be our goal, to become Brahma. So once we get to that 78%, then we get a ticket to go to Goloka. So as I said, Prabhujis and Matajis, this verse is the Paribhasha Sutra of Srimad Bhagavatam, which means that it is the emperor verse. And Paribhasha Sutra is that verse which is governing all the other verses of the scripture. So it is the main statement. In the entire scripture, this is the main statement. And the main subject matter of a scripture is delineated in the Paribhasha Sutra. So, and what we also should remember is that if any other verse is contradicting this verse, we have to explain them in such a way that they either agree with this verse or we can even reject it. So if we come to a verse which is, and the authorities are saying that, this does not agree, then usually that verse itself is rejected. But otherwise, we try to explain them in such a way that they have to agree with this verse. Also, what we need to keep in mind is generally it's this Paribhasha Sutra, it only comes typically only once in an entire scripture and usually is in the beginning. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, does anybody want to take a guess how many chapters are there? So there are 355 chapters. 355 chapters in total. And this is in the third chapter. And then we have 2 chapters right at the end, which are fully focused on Krishna, which can contain more than 120 or 130 of these chapters are there in those 2 cantos. So Krishna is also the main subject matter of the scripture. So as we know, Bhagavatam is the emperor of all the scriptures. So if the Vedanta Sutra is the essence of the Vedas, the essence of the Vedanta Sutras is the Bhagavatam. And this verse is the emperor of all the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can use the analogy of an army. So generally, the soldiers, they will be following where the commander or the general is going, so his directions are usually followed. And similarly, in this entire Srimad Bhagavatam, this verse is the emperor verse. So all the other verses have to follow the emperor. That's why it's called the Paribhasha Sutra. Now, if you just come back to that particular verse itself and look at it in a little bit more of detail, and what we do see is that Ete, it starts with Ete. So it means all the incarnations that we have discussed so far. It says Ete Cha. And Cha means all the incarnations that we have not. Cha also means also and. So whatever we have discussed, so we discussed 22, and whatever we have not discussed, all the incarnations are Amsha or Kala. And Amsha means expansions of the Lord, and Kalaha means expansion of the Lord. Amsha means expansion of the Lord, Kala means expansion of the Lord. So Amsha example you can take is like Matsya Avtara, Kurma Avtara, and the Kala is like Kumara's Narada. So, and then Pumsha comes. What Pumsha refers to? The Purusha avatar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, what we need to keep in mind is this is referred to in the first verse and in the last, in this 28th verse. So this is one section, Prabhuji's and Mataji's. So in the first verse of the section also, Purusha is referred to, the Supreme Purusha avatar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the 28th verse also, he is referred to. And so he expands himself as Purusha avatara. And the first line is that all Amsha and Kala are expansions of the expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Tu comes. Tu means but. Krishna. So, but Krishna is himself Bhagavan. So the word Swayam. So Prabhupada in his purport, he refers to the word Swayam. So so you see, between Krishna and Bhagavan, the word Tu is coming. So Swayam and Tu are giving more emphasis to that word Bhagavan. And Tu also means certainly in Sanskrit. And so that shows the emphasis that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. So again, I'm sharing this from my notes from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's lecture. He's given a very nice lecture which is available on YouTube. After this session, actually, I will also share a short PDF which talks about how these incarnations come in flow down. So then you will also get a snapshot of how it's kind of a flowchart that is there. And Gauranga Darshan also, Prabhu also mentions about Jiva Goswami's analysis in Krishna Sandarbha, where he gives 12 points. We have covered 1 point here only I have covered, but there are 12 more points. So people who are wanting to read more in depth can go and refer. It's available online also. We can go and refer to this.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Sorry to interrupt, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I kind of sense that, you have prepared quite so much and there is so much more that you want to share. And it's good that you share for what you prepared. So instead of hurrying up, you can also take tomorrow's class and continue the same chapter and finish it also, if that's okay with you. I don't know your plan.
So we can do that, Prabhu. So, but then tomorrow it will be a shorter class, Prabhu, because the main part was up to here. And then from here till the glories, actually, we can move fast. And then from glories, we'll spend a little bit of time, so Prabhu. But I agree with you. Today, we are almost done on time. So this is one important section. We can finish the other section tomorrow.
No, just that I felt that you have prepared a lot, and why should that go waste? You can nicely share.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu. We can.
What do you say, Praveen Prabhu? Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, that's what I thought actually, because we don't know how much people are preparing. So I'm ready to extend it. Like, we should do justice to the preparation. So just Prabhuji, please continue. Tell whatever you want to tell in detail. Don't hurry because of the time lag. I think that's what we should follow as a protocol as going forward.
Yeah,
not just depending on the time. We don't need to really worry about time.
Yeah, because these chapters are highly philosophical chapters, at least the beginning first two cantos.
Yes, Prabhu, I completely agree. And please, Prabhu, continue with all the things you prepared. I want everybody to listen to all the hard work you have put in, Prabhu.
Yeah, but I must say that Prabhuji's slides are amazing. I don't know, you prepared it yourself or?
No, Prabhuji, actually, I got a PDF from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu.
Wonderful.
I messaged him yesterday. I said, I need your help. I need your blessings.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
His YouTube video is there, and he was very kind to share the PDF. So from that, I actually borrowed some of the templates and all that, and then I shifted the flow and all that. I made up a few changes probably, but I used this picture.
You have blessings. You have blessings of a great Vaishnava here already. No wonder you are doing it so nicely. Thank you, Prabhuji. I mean, please, spend some time today and everything. If you felt that you rushed up in some other verses where you wanted to more, you can also cover that up. 1 hour just flies in a Bhagavatam class, especially chapters like this. So you can also give time for question answers, right? I mean, I'm sure many will have some questions. Tomorrow I may not be able to attend, but I'll definitely hear the recording.
Yes.
So you want to logically stop here, or do you want to?
I think we can take. If you want, I think it's a logical point where we can take a pause here, Prabhu.
Okay.
Tomorrow we can complete it. We can have question answer, but tomorrow's session will then be shorter, Prabhu, a little bit shorter.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Anybody has any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, text 26, you are saying, I mean, it is saying that incarnations are innumerable. So can you elaborate that? Because how can incarnations be innumerable? Because one is because we just studied that 22 incarnations are there. So can you elaborate on that? That's my first question.
So yes, Prabhu. So what we see in this also in text number 28, Prabhu, is that what here is very clearly mentioned is what is discussed and what is not discussed. So if you look at this verse, Ete Chamsha Kalaha Pumsha, and Lilananda Prabhu and Praveen Prabhu and other senior devotees, please feel free to add, is that, what is also not discussed. So all the incarnations that we discussed, we only discussed 22 incarnations. And what has not been discussed is beyond this. So, and they are all coming from Vishnu. But Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. And another point also of the innumerable incarnations, as I mentioned before, is that if you look at the sequence from Karanadakshay Vishnu, comes innumerable universes. And in each of those universes, you have Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And from Garbhodakshay Vishnu, the other incarnations are coming except Krishna. Krishna manifests himself when he comes. So if you do the math, innumerable universes are there. Innumerable Garbhodakshay Vishnus are there. Right? There are innumerable incarnations that are also there. And in this verse, very specifically also, they are talking about incarnations that we have discussed, but also not that have been discussed. So both are also getting covered in this. So when he says Ete means all the incarnations that we have discussed so far, and Cha means all the incarnations that we have not discussed. So whatever we have discussed and whatever we have not discussed, these are all Amsha and Kala. So Amsha means the expansion of the Lord, and Kala means the expansion of the Lord. Lilan Prabhu and Praveen Prabhu, please feel free to add to.
You covered it well, Prabhu. I think the innumerability part comes from at any point of time, Prabhu, in any universe, some avatara is going on. Right now, probably in some other universe, some other yuga is going on, and then some avatara is going on. So we don't know. We can't even count them. So what you said is correct, Prabhu. Lilan Prabhu, please add.
No, what you said is right, Prabhuji. Actually, Lord is unlimited, and his incarnations are also unlimited. For us, they are unlimited. For him, they are limited. Right? He knows how many incarnations he has taken. For us, our understanding, we get humbled to know that he has unlimited incarnations. In fact, the chapter at one point ends with a verse which talks about river and rivulets, right? Where it talks about the number of bubbles in a flowing stream. How many bubbles are there in a flowing stream of river? You can't count them. But God knows how many are there. So there are unlimited incarnations, unlimited for us to understand the greatness of God. At the same time, they're limited. God knows them, how many are there. And he can increase that number. He can do anything with that number. And how do we know? How do we know? Actually, in one of the sessions when I taken Who is God, one Prabhuji was believing somebody as God, though is not mentioned anywhere in scriptures. So he kind of put me a question that, then why not what I believe is God? Because it's unlimited anyways. So that's where I had to tell that it's limited for us, given in the scriptures. For this planet, the syllabus is already given. All the incarnations for this planet are given for us, right? So if he's not mentioned in Shastra, then he's not incarnation. At the same time, if you go by all the planets, all the universe, it's unlimited. So you and me, we cannot decide who is an incarnation. Incarnation is revealed by Lord himself, even before he comes in the form of scriptures and in the form of his pure devotees. He reveals to them, which again comes down into scriptures. And he does that for a simple reason that he knows that humans will have a tendency of either declaring themselves as incarnation or declaring their favorite person as incarnation. So there is the unlimited aspect is always going to be there whenever we discuss about Lord's pastimes. So they are innumerable, and part of the reason is because we in India, we are not educated by Shastra, from our childhood, and the Dashavatara Stotra is like the only thing we know. A lot of times people say, oh, Dashavatara. In fact, in Dashavatara, there is no Krishna only. Krishna doesn't fall into Dashavatara. Dashavatara Stotram at least. So, yes, we have to learn that Lord's incarnations are unlimited and innumerable. And like Prabhuji said, no book can put all the incarnations together because they're unlimited, So here, few of the prominent ones, or rather, whatever Sukadeva Goswami chose, they have been described here. If some other Goswami speaks, he might add more. Right? Sukadeva Goswami chose only these in this chapter. So that's my understanding. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So I would like to, before it ends, I know it's almost 9 o'clock. Can you allow me to share screen for you if you don't mind? Just
Yes, Prabhu,
one thing
please.
I wanted to.
I will stop sharing.
Yeah, I don't want to present anything relating to this, but I just wanted to appreciate and encourage by showing these two verses from. Oh, wait a second. Yeah. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You all can see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Bharata Bhumite Haila Manushya Janma Yara Janma Sartaka Kari Kara Para Upakara. Which means one who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatvarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people, right? So we as Indians who have, we have taken birth in this Bharatvarsha, we are very fortunate, and we are human beings also, by the way. So we are extremely fortunate. right? So even animals are fortunate if they take birth in Bharatvarsha, and human beings are more fortunate, right? And it's our job to, one second, it's our job to spread the glories uh, of Krishna consciousness to everyone, use our talents. In fact, the same thing in the same purport, Prabhupada refers to even this shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 22nd chapter, 35th verse. Etavat janma sapalyam dehinam iha dehishu pranayir arthair dhiya vacha shreya acharanam sada. What is the meaning of this? It says the same thing. It is a duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. With his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. This is the word of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sorry, of Lord Sri Krishna himself speaking. So the reason I thought I'll one second. The reason I thought I said I wanted to refer these two verses is to encourage everyone in this call to start with an aim of serving these two verses. We all have a role to play, right? So everybody, it's for us actually, personal instruction. I'm so grateful to Anandram Narasimhan Prabhu and family that they have chosen to serve. Only one qualification is there to come forward and speak in parampara, is that we should show our sincerity, we should show our consistency, and we should show our surrender. Then we get qualified to share this knowledge. Read this knowledge, is everybody can read, but sharing this knowledge, we need that. So I request everyone on the call, in our satsang, we have a simple criteria that we all should chant 16 rounds without any gaps for at least 2 years. At least 2 years before 1.5 to 2 years. We really precise. To start preaching, to start representing Srila Prabhupada. Because without that consistency, that means we are not fixed up. Another thing, we should be thoroughly convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. This chapter itself was mentioning that. So we should be thoroughly convinced. There should not be anything else in our minds. If it is there, that means you're still doubting. We are not part of, to be part of ISKCON society, we should be part of Krishna. Right? And Krishna is only the whole centered. It should be like, perfect. Like even in the last chapter, Sukadeva Goswami repeats that worshipping any devata should not be for shelter. Shelter is only from Krishna. Worshipping any other devata should only be for respect. That's all. That is a kind of determination we should get in the mind. At least we should be endeavoring for that. And that is a qualifier for us to become a preacher and to preach this Krishna consciousness to everyone. And in fact, I pray to Lord Krishna that every single person in this call right now, every single person should play that role. But for that, we have to prepare, right? And it's a lifetime of preparation, right? So there is no hurry and there is hurry, right? There is no hurry and there is hurry. We have to hurry up to become that, to do that service. And there is no hurry because sometimes you take a lot of time to get to that point, right? So it really, it's a really great, I'll say, happy moment to see one more family coming forward and showing interest in service as preaching. All services are glorified. Garland making and preaching, cleaning the temple and preaching, book distribution and preaching, all are same from Krishna's eyes, right? But Prabhupada especially recommended that this is a preaching moment. So we should preach in different ways, through words, through our behavior, different ways. And Prabhuji has so nicely accepted it and he has come forward to preach. I'm very, very grateful. And I'm sure, the day, just a matter of time is separating, where he with his skills, like this verse says, with his intelligence, skills, everything that God has given, we can touch many lives. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your class, but I was very happy.
Thank you. Maybe next tomorrow we can spend a little bit time to go through the hierarchy of Lord Shri Krishna's expansions.
Yes.
I'm just sharing my screen here. Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Maybe we can start with this, what I'm sharing right now.
Wow.
My screen.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So this chart is actually good, Prabhu. This is prepared in the Bhaktivedanta Vidyapith. Gauranga Darshan Prabhu only shared this. We can go through this also because the next verses it won't take that much time. We can spend little time to go through this, and we can spend the remaining time to go through the verses and then Q&A.
Amazing. You're really fortunate to have association of Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, Gaurang Prabhu, and such senior devotees. So, really.
You only, Prabhu.
No, I don't have such access to anyone like that. I lost soul somewhere. This is so nice. Very, very. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay. No.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhasya Koti Vaishnav
की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय थैंक यू
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.